Boys, welcome to Module 6, Scaling. Scaling your accounts, scaling across bookies, making more money, and cashing more profits. So, there's two steps to scaling. The first one being through bookies, and the second one being through accounts. We'll dive straight into both. So, step one, bookies. Using more bookies for match betting is the first step to scaling, right? So, obviously, basic maths, 2 bookies will double your profit compared to 1, right? 5 bookies will 5x your profits, and so on. If you have a lot of capital to start, once you learn the basics of match betting, which I kind of touched on really early in the core basics, you can spread your money across more bookies as you progress, kind of more into that intermediate stage where you have 2 to 5 bookies, right? If you don't have a lot of money to start, like less than 2K, build up your account on one bookie, and as you profit, right, diversify those profits across more bookies. So go to 2 bookies, then 3, then 4, then 5. Realistically, you really don't need any more than 5. As I already kind of spoke on in previous modules, it just kind of does more harm than good. You're trying to manage 10 different bookies, placing all the mug bets, converting all the bonuses, and trying to manage 10 bookies. It's just unrealistic and it's counterproductive, right? You're better off just kind of moving on to step 2, which is scaling your accounts, right? Developing more accounts using those main 5 or 6 bookies, those core bookies, right? So the more bookies you have, the more promos you'll have access to, right? So the larger a bookie is, the more promos they will offer, and the more lenient they will be in terms of match betting. So which bookies are the best in terms of promos? I laid out the top 8 just based on statistics, based on promos, and 1 through 6 is really all you need. So Sportsbet, Betfair, Ladbrokes, PointsBet, Tab, and Betr. Those are the top 6. That's all you really need. Obviously, just 5 main bookies plus Betfair, and then 7 and 8 will PlayUp and Betfair if you guys want to use those as well. But realistically, those kind of top 6 is all you really need. Once you've scaled your accounts and you've gone from having 1 bookie to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and you feel very comfortable managing 5, it's when you can move on to step 2, which is accounts, right? You've peaked, you're making, 10, 20K a month, you've got 5 accounts, and you want to scale. Sorry, not 5 accounts, 5 bookies, and you want to scale. You want to open up more accounts on those same bookies. How do we do that? So once you consistently start profiting on, 4 plus bookies, 4 to 6, and you have the money to invest, start opening up more accounts under those same bookies. So instead of having 5 bookies and then going, I want 10, 15, 20, you're better off just keeping those 5 and having, 2 accounts on each bookie, then 3 accounts on each bookie, 4 accounts, etc. How do we do that, right? So you can open up multiple accounts. So you can't open up multiple accounts under the same name. Otherwise, then we could just make millions of dollars per week. That's not possible, right? So use a family or friends account, or open up one under, open one up under their personal information. So use your sister's account, use your brother's account, use your mate's account, whatever. Just find someone, and a lot of people, have said to me in the past, why would, say you want to use your brother's account, or why would he let you, use his information? Is you can kind of just explain the systems and convince them and say all right, well listen, I'll give you $100 a month for free, or I'll give you 10% of all the profits. I'm going to be making 10K a month. I'll give you $1,000 a month just for letting me use your information without you having to do anything. All right, it's a win-win for both parties. Why wouldn't they do that, right? So diversifying across more accounts, and kind of just getting to the most important point here, why not have 10 accounts and 10x your profits, right? With that sort of mentality, why not have 50 accounts and 50x your profits? Because it's unrealistic. As I've said with bookies, you can't just have 10 bookies, 5 accounts in each bookie, and you're going to be placing 20 to 50 plus bets per week on each bookie, plus all the mug bets, plus all the bonus conversions. It's just unrealistic, and there aren't enough hours in the week. So, there's a certain level you can scale to. You're looking at 5 main bookies across 3 accounts. So in total, 15, individual platforms, right? The argument of, well, what if I had 30 platforms that would 2x that, right? In theory, but that's 2x the time, 2x the management, 2x the consistency of placing on those bookies, etc. But also I'll get into this. I think it's on the last slide. So in here, treat your accounts differently when it comes to horse betting and sports betting. So as I've said here, these are the main 6 you guys should be using, but like you can have 15 different platforms for sports betting. Like you can place multi-bets an hour out or 2 hours out or 3 hours out from the match. With horse bets, that's not how it works, right? If you guys have done horse racing, you'd understand that you should always be placing your horse bets within the last minute, because that's when the most EV is available, right? Realistically, within the last like 10 seconds, because at that last like 5 to 10 seconds just before the race starts, all the liquidity has flown through the market and you can guarantee the highest EV horse. So the idea that you can have 15 different tabs open, like 3 for Sportsbet, 3 for Ladbrokes, etc., and you've got one account on each and you're placing like 15, like to bet on a horse 15 times on 15 different platforms within the span of like 30 seconds just isn't realistic. A good tip as well, like we are profitable because 99% of sports bettors are unprofitable, right? We're the 1%. Like if you do not follow the systems, you don't, manage your accounts in terms of like account sustainability, you're betting with emotion opposed to statistics and logic, eventually you're going to fall into that 99%. And that is not our goal. Like our goal is to be the 1%, right? Like we're only profitable because 99% of people are losing, right? We have to be the 1% that win. And if you're betting like degenerate gamblers, you're going to end up like a degenerate gambler and you're going to lose money. So like my last piece of advice is just stick to the systems. Like once you guys get good enough, you guys can start placing like your own bets, you can place your own multis. That comes with a lot of time, but if you just want to guarantee profit for the rest of your life, just follow the bets that are in the Discord and you'll print cash. And to finish off, I'm actually going to move on to FAQs. So there's a few kind of like more advanced questions I had that I'll answer for you guys. So first question, will Betfair ban me? That's like one of the biggest things that always gets thrown around. Betfair is not a bookmaker/bookie, right? Betfair is a betting exchange. How Betfair works is like they are basically the middleman. Someone goes and they back something on Betfair and then you go and you lay on Betfair. They're simply matching your lay with someone else's back. Vice versa, you're backing something someone else is laying. All Betfair does is they match your bet against somebody else betting against what you're betting on. Sounds a little bit complex, but it's basically like if you lose, somebody else wins, right? So when you lose, Betfair gets your money. When the other person wins because you lost, Betfair takes a small percentage of their wins. So basically when you lose, Betfair win. When you win, Betfair still wins because they win the other person's losses that are betting against you, and they take about 5% of what you make. That doesn't affect our mug betting or anything like that. The 5%-ish commission is built into the bets. So it's not like, we convert a mug bet by 99% and then they take another 5, so it's only 94. The 5% commission they take is already built into the bets. So they're not taking any extra money that we're unaware of on top. That's basically Betfair. That's how it works. You guys can read the description here. Betfair will never ban you under any circumstance ever. Number 2, how do I restore an account that has been limited/banned? So people always talk about like getting banned. Like you'll never really get banned. That's very rare that a bookmaker will like kick you and say you're banned, right? It's more so you'll always get limited, which is basically they'll take away your promos, or like for me on Bet365, I've had all my promos taken away with the addition of the maximum bet I'm allowed to place is like $5. Once an account has been flagged by a bookmaker, there is no restoring it. However, this can easily be avoided through the account sustainability methods you have learned through the sports betting playbook. Yep, not maxing out every single promo. $45 is far superior to $50. You guys know that. How far out from a match should I bet? So this is crucial, and I just spoke about this, but for a 3 to 5 leg multi-sports bet that we put out, whether that's NBA, NRL, or AFL, multi-bets should be placed within the last hour or so, but it doesn't matter too much. Like as long as it's within like an hour or so, or even if it's like 5 hours out, that's usually fine. The EV and bet itself won't really change much at all within like 6 hours. But with horse racing, completely flipped. Like you could be betting on a horse that's paying like 2.5 odds, and 10 seconds out from the race, it's gone all the way up to 3.5 odds. And that first bet was like a minute out, right? Like literally odds flow everywhere. Like especially with super busy races, if it's like a Wednesday and a Saturday, the two biggest racing days, odds go everywhere. And, you know, horse racing, AI powered software we have is just all over the place, because it's like, fuck, all the EV is just like bouncing around everywhere, because there's all this liquidity being flown in the market and it's just going everywhere. And, you know, it'll be like this horse, like a minute out, it'll be like, oh, this horse has 30% EV, bet on this. And then 10 seconds out, it's on a completely different horse, and this horse now has like 40% EV. Horse racing, do not, like, if you've been consistently match betting for a while, or you just always place multis, when you start horse racing, treat it like a completely different game. Horse racing and sports betting are two very different things. Like, timing matters so much. EV is completely different. Anyway, we'll move on to the last one, because a lot of people don't understand what a void is. Rarely your bet might get voided. So the bet will just say void. And people usually think, like, does that mean, people usually just think it's a loss. So what a void is, it's a refund. So, you know, you might bet Lakers are going to win. Say you got like a 3-leg multi. Lakers are going to win. LeBron's going to shoot 20 plus. And Luka Doncic is going to score 20 plus. But LeBron, he gets injured in the first 10 seconds. He sprains his ankle. They'll void your bet and they'll refund it, because it's like, well, you know, that's an unfair bet because LeBron's not even playing now. So if a player's out due to injury, sickness, some other reasons, or for some reason your bet has just been cancelled, they'll give you a refund and it will show up as a void. It's not going to affect your account either. It's not going to look suspicious. It's not going to ruin, you know, your account sustainability. Don't worry about it. But anyway, guys, that wraps up the bootcamp. Hope you guys enjoyed. How many was that? So, you know, 6 solid modules you guys can just kind of revisit constantly. The bootcamp itself isn't that long. I tried to make it as concise as possible. And as I mentioned before, the playbook is in the Discord if you guys just want to revisit that whenever you want, and you can look at what I've been, you know, teaching here. So dive back into that, guys. Start match betting. Start making a shitload of money. You guys have the knowledge that now just needs to be applied, and you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'll see you guys inside.